Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today, we will turn our attention to one of the world's smallest, most influential financial centers, that is Liechtenstein. With a population of 40,000 people, this European country has once again grabbed the global headlines from yesterday after hackers reportedly breached its register of beneficial owners. For common language people, its bank accounts, exposing information of 31,000 companies, foundations, and trusts. For layman, it's bank accounts, again, because these are all bank account linked entities. Uh, for India, this is beyond cyber security. The last major disclosures involving bank accounts abroad of Indians led to intense investigations into undisclosed finance, foreign assets, tax evasion, and black money. Now, what will this latest breach reveal? What happens if Indian names come out? Can legitimate account holders also be there abroad? And how to distinguish themselves from the ones who quote unquote have black money accounts? And how does the Black Money Act apply? Today, we're going to separate fact from the speculation, examine the legal consequences, and ask whether this latest leak could become another watershed movement in the global fight against hidden wealth. I'm Tarun Nangia and you watching Legally Speaking. At the outset, I want to welcome a three panel of experts. I have with me senior advocate Vivek Kohli, who's practiced law also a lot on the finance side, also on the tax side. I have with me senior advocate Percival Bilimoria. In his first career, he was a chartered accountant and now for decades has been a lawyer. I have with me Divyam Agarwal, who handles a lot of such kind of cases. He's also a senior partner at JSA. Good to see you. Divyam, at the outset, I spoke to you about this show before, and you've done some research and made an explainer. Can you give us a 3 minute explainer on what has happened?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tarun, for having me, and good to meet you both, Mr. Bilimori and Mr. Kohli. What has reportedly been compromised is Liechtenstein's official register of beneficial owners and not bank accounts or banking systems. Okay. The register contains information relating to beneficial owners, ownership structures, trust, foundation, maintained for anti-money laundering purposes. Based on the information presently available, there is no indication that customer banking systems have been hacked. In fact, the Liechtenstein government has also stated there is no indication that data has been altered or deleted. We must remember that a leaked data is not the same as admissible evidence. It may provide investigative leads, but every entry is still to be authenticated, verified, and viewed in proper legal and commercial context. In fact, many Indian promoters legitimately use trust and foundation for succession planning, governance, and global investments. As I said, what has been leaked is the register of beneficial owners and nothing more. So, while of course it's a serious breach, but that's not that it may not have as many consequences as we expect.
Point very well taken. I'll go to senior advocate Vivek Kohli for his opening comment.
Evening, Tarun. Glad to be back on your show again, and a very good evening to my fellow panelists also. So, two or three things over here again. As Divyam said, that what has been leaked is really the member register of members at the moment, the beneficial owners, so to say. Now, fundamentally, I want to clear up one thing in my opening comment over here, that it's not really illegal to have an account or be a beneficial owner or be on that register per se. Just because it's a foreign jurisdiction and your name occurs over there, it doesn't mean that you've done something illegal. That we must be extremely clear about, right? Now, these things are all permitted under Indian law, provided you follow the compliances, you make the regular declarations, and you have disclosed it in your income tax, made the declarations in FEMA, you're fine. You really don't need to worry about it. Yes, but if there has been, let's say, some undisclosed asset or undisclosed income, then there's reason to worry, because that really just means that you've indulged in some degree of evasion, and the consequences therefore will follow whatever they are in law. But at the outset, a presumption that, okay, the name figures and therefore it is wrong, that is completely, out of place in this context. It is not, it should not be viewed in that manner. I remember the last time this kind of a thing had happened, one of our fellow legal luminaries had in fact gone on record and even placed the amount of income tax that he had paid over the last, decades. And that's how, all that money was available in those, in the account that he had fully declared, fully, sort of proper. So the presumption that that's the first thing, that should be out of the window. No presumption of this sort. Everything
Thank
should
you.
be viewed in terms of how it has been disclosed, how compliances have happened, and how you've maintained that account.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying this. I'll now go to Senior Advocate Percival Bilimoria to analyze this issue.
So, Tarun, the thing is, just because someone has a foreign account is not necessarily a red flag. I think, there is a instinctive knee-jerk reaction. Oh, you have money in foreign accounts. I mean, there could be a number of reasons why you keep money in foreign accounts. I mean, you may want to keep it as a hedge against currency fluctuations. And I think today, in today's times, when, many financial advisors are talking about currency collapse and the risk thereof, I think it's very natural for somebody to say, okay, why don't I just, if I have a dollar account, and why don't I just move it to a more stable currency? So just because you have something dollar denominated or in some other currency, it doesn't mean that it is unaccounted, what we call as black money or, something illegal. So I think Vivek mentioned that under the Black Money Act, it's essentially undisclosed foreign assets. Now, you see, for many years we had this what we call as the liberalized scheme, where every member of the family is permitted, I think, about $250,000 a year. So you can take it out. I mean, it was, when it first came in, it was said to be for any purpose, but there are now certain exceptions. But you could take it also if you want to, for example, trade on the New York Stock Exchange. You can, legitimately open an American bank account as long as it is what is known in legal jargon as quote unquote normal banking channels. What is normal banking channel? Which when you go to an authorized dealer, right? Somebody who's licensed by the Reserve Bank to remit foreign exchange in and out of India. And then, the reason being, of course, that these guys have reporting requirements. So, every time you buy something on your credit card, which is, foreign exchange credit card, it will get reported, which is fine. As long as you do not want to do this surreptitiously, I mean, India is now, I mean, we are still a little way away from, doing away with capital controls altogether. And I remember a time in the early 2000s, there was one Parsi governor of the Reserve Bank of India who had done a report and said we should do away with all capital controls. And I think our government has not had the courage to do that so far. But
Point
yeah.
Point very well taken.
Exceptions, yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to Divyam Agarwal at this point. Divyam, this database, should it reveal only the immediate legal owner, or can it expose the ultimate individual which controls these entities? What will this database have ordinarily?
I think first of all, I mean, I echo the sentiment. I think there should be nobody should be worried about it here. And taking a cue from what Mr. Billy Boria mentioned, I was recently having a chat with my wealth manager, and he said that if you're planning to send your kid abroad few years down the line, you create a dollar denominated account because of this fluctuation in the currency. So nothing illegal about it. is one has to be underscored. What is what is the focus right now? The focus is there has to be on documentation and compliance rather than panic. Okay, individuals who have legitimate established offshore structure should review whether the relevant foreign assets, incomes, beneficial interest have been appropriately disclosed under applicable Indian laws. Data leak is not a verdict. It is the beginning of a process and not an end of a reputation. So let's be clear on it that you just have to maintain a proper documentation. I urge ultra HNIs, promoters, corporates to start building up and if they suspect that their name is likely to be leaked out, they should start the process of putting the right documentation together. And my advice to the authorities is investigate first and accuse later. You're not.
That's why I want to just interject you. The income tax, ED, enforcement director, and FIU. Do you think they'll do anything immediately, or it's still time before anything can happen?
No, they need to first verify and authenticate the data. Merely because there is a data available, that does not straight away make it admissible. Okay, they cannot. The first step would be a sort of a coordinated verification exercise and not immediate enforcement. And we have a precedent about it. When whether it was Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, Pandora Papers, that is what was followed. Whether it is the income tax department, they need to compare this leaked information with the income tax return, whether it is ED, they need to see whether there is any kind of proceeds of crime or a scheduled involving a scheduled offense, and whether that attracts the provisions of the PMLA Act, whether it is FIU, they will analyze whether there is any anti-money laundering perspective which can be correlated to the suspicious transaction. All those data needs to be seen. You cannot straight away jump to a conclusion that your name is there, your guilt is proven, and move on.
Point very well taken, Divyan. I'll go to Senior Advocate Vivek Kohli. Do you think the ED will right away investigate every account holder, or only if there is a proceeds of crime, that he's stolen something in India, done an illegal activity, taken that money abroad? Or do you think everyone who's now named from India in that list of bank account holders, quote unquote, because that's what common people understand best, will sort of be investigated?
So, Tarun, taking cue from what Divyam just said, imagine this for a moment. Now, you've got some names over there. I mean, what I read is some 31,000 names are there, and I guess take it that, India is going to be higher up on, I mean, assume everything against India, that they're going to be higher up, we're going to be the maximum proportionate, people over there. So it'll be what, 6, 8,000, 10,000 people.
Yes.
Now, look at, except for Percy, three of us have a name which is fairly common. The surname is also fairly common. I know at least half a dozen or a dozen Kohlis in court. Now, in a country of 1.4 billion, you have some names. You will have to verify who the fellow is first. Only then can you go. So, just having a name means nothing because it could be anybody. Right? So that's the start of the process. Exactly what Divyam was saying, you'll have to identify who the person is. Then you'll have to go and check out his declarations with the RBI, with the income tax. If the declarations are all in order, then it's not even the start of a process. The process starts if they don't find anything there and they are able to correlate that this bank account, they may not be a declaration because the account is not mine. There may be some other Vivek Kohli sitting somewhere who has that account. Abhi, you'll have to check out everything and only then will you be able to, and there'll be some KYC documents, passports. Aadhaar to nahi hoga wahan pe, but there'll be some passports or something over there which will identify who the person is. So you will have to correlate it with the documentation over here, and then the process starts. Now, the ED comes into play if there is a schedule offense. Now, the schedule offense may be, under the Income Tax Act or the Black Money Act or whatever, and then the proceeds of crime, and then the ED steps in to check out what are the consequences of that. But straight away off the bat, because the name is there, is again, as Percy said, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's just that you've got something and therefore let's run with it. No, fair amount of background work that will need to be done, and only then is it going to be. And again, if your compliances are all in order, really you may be called for an explanation. You will give the explanation. That's about it. No worries there. But yes, if there is something amiss, then you need to be looking at your paperwork.
Point very well taken. I'll go to Senior Advocate Percival Bilimoria. Do you concur with the fact that whoever has been named, sometimes, in India, there is this practice of issuing notices to everyone claim, and it is the onus is on them to come clean. Do you think we run the risk of such an approach that whoever is named now gets a notice?
I mean, let me put it the other way. What is wrong if you get a notice? Right? I mean, a notice is not a death sentence. It is only a please, explain 1, 2, 3. And I think, the department or whoever sends that notice is well within its rights to do so. Because, I mean, just to explain from what Vivek said, as long as, ultimately the thumb rule is if you have income on which you have paid tax, and you must remember that India taxes world income, right? So it's not a situation where you earn in India, pay tax, and then you can remit wherever you want. Any income anywhere in the world, as long as you pay tax on it, and you can keep it wherever you want. So ultimately, the point is that that funnel has to pass through the tax net. And I think it's not rocket science to show that, okay, I have X amount in this particular account. What is the source? And is it post-tax or not post-tax? It's as simple as that. There are some nuances because ultimately money is fungible. Right. So to be able to show a direct link that this is where on the first of the month I received X amount, and then it was subject to TDS, etc. And then on the 5th of the month I remitted it to this account in whichever corner of the world. That may not always be possible, but money is fungible, and you will. I mean, look, Indians are very creative people. We have creative accountants who can reconcile your books. Okay. And of course, you'll need creative lawyers who will be able to explain any anomalies. But that is also in a situation where, there is an anomaly in the first place. I mean, I would like to believe that most people by now are, smart enough to have kept everything in order.
Point very well taken. I would like to thank all of my 3 panelists who joined us on this curtain raiser following this Liechtenstein week. Of course, 3-4 days from now, as this news progresses and we get more details and data, we will do a follow-up show on this issue. Some good points that came about. Of course, Percival Bilimoria mentioned that what big deal if you get a notice? It's simply some information that is being asked. Mr. Kohli also put forth his points, and Divyam Agarwal. But in the follow-up, we will go into much more detailed questions. I would like to thank all 3 of you for joining us on this special show. Looking forward to see you on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun.